Have you ever stepped outside just after a rainstorm, inhaled the smell of wet soil, and felt an unexpected wave of calm wash over you? Maybe you felt comforted, even a little nostalgic, without fully understanding why. To most people, the scent of damp earth, sometimes called petrichor, might seem ordinary. But for some, it sparks something deeper, an almost primal reassurance. At first glance, it might appear trivial. Smells are just smells, right? But the human brain doesn't treat scents as neutral. Odors are uniquely linked to emotion and memory, more so than any other sense. While a song or a picture can trigger memories, a smell can instantly transport you years back, reviving feelings, environments, and even states of mind you weren't consciously aware of. For those who find comfort in damp or earthy aromas, the effect is both immediate and profound. To understand why this happens, we need to start with how the olfactory system works. When you inhale, odor molecules bind to receptors in your nose. These receptors send signals directly to the olfactory bulb, which connects almost immediately to the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotion, memory, and survival instincts. Unlike other senses, which must pass through several brain regions before affecting emotion, smells have a direct shortcut. This is why scents can trigger instantaneous feelings, whether it's a comforting sense of familiarity or an intense aversion. Damp and earthy smells are particularly intriguing because they contain molecules like geosmin, a compound produced by soil-dwelling microbes, and the oils released by plants after rainfall. These compounds are detectable even in minute quantities and are uniquely appealing to some humans. Interestingly, geosmin's scent is often described as earthy or musty, which in other contexts might be unpleasant. Yet for many people, it is unexpectedly soothing. Why? Partly because these smells signal something important to the brain: life, fertility, and safe environments. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. For our ancestors, wet soil could mean recent rainfall, a sign that plants were growing and water was available. Moisture suggested food, shelter, and a lower risk of fire. Smelling damp earth may have unconsciously signaled a safe, thriving environment, calming the mind and triggering a sense of well-being. In other words, the comforting feeling we experience might be a leftover evolutionary cue. Our brains learn to associate certain earthy smells with survival and stability. But evolution alone doesn't explain the whole story. There's also a psychological layer. Humans form emotional associations with smells early in life. A person who grew up playing outside during rainy seasons or helping plant a garden may have developed positive emotional connections to damp earth. These associations become embedded in the brain's neural pathways, so that the smell of wet soil later in life automatically triggers comfort or nostalgia. For others, the smell might evoke neutral or even negative emotions, highlighting how personal history shapes olfactory experiences. You could imagine the brain as a tiny interior decorator with a surprisingly specific taste. The scent isn't just detected, it's interpreted, evaluated, and emotionally processed, all in a fraction of a second. Another reason damp and earthy smells are comforting is the rhythmic and predictable patterns they signal. Rainfall, soil moisture, and plant growth occur in cycles. For humans, who thrive on environmental consistency, these smells may provide subconscious reassurance that the world is orderly and safe. Unlike chaotic or unpredictable scents, earthy aromas suggest stability. The brain, always scanning for potential threats, recognizes this subtle signal and relaxes. Finally, the comforting effect of these scents also illustrates the interplay between sensory input and memory. Our brains are wired to connect what we perceive in the present with stored experiences. The smell of wet soil can instantly trigger memories of childhood, gardens, or rainy days spent in safety. This linkage between scent and memory is so powerful that even people who consciously dislike mud or dirt may still feel a faint reassurance when exposed to its aroma in small, earthy doses. So, why do some people feel comforted by damp or earthy smells? It's not a random preference. It's a combination of olfactory processing, brain wiring, emotional memory, evolutionary signaling, and subconscious reassurance. Smells like petrichor or geosmin are more than chemical compounds. They're emotional triggers, survival cues, and memory portals, all rolled into a simple whiff of wet earth. So why do some people feel an instant wave of comfort from the smell of wet soil or damp earth, while others barely notice it, or even find it off-putting? The answer lies in a fascinating blend of personal history, sensory sensitivity, and psychological conditioning. These differences reveal just how deeply intertwined smell, memory, and emotion really are. First, let's consider personal history and memory associations. Humans are highly susceptible to the influence of early life experiences on scent perception. A person who spent childhood afternoons playing outside after rainfall, helping in a garden, or walking through forests may have unconsciously associated those damp, earthy smells with safety, curiosity, and joy. The scent becomes a mental shortcut, a trigger that instantly recalls comforting experiences. Conversely, someone who associates mud or dampness with discomfort, mess, or illness may not experience the same sense of reassurance. Memory is a powerful moderator, and it turns a chemical signal in the air into a deeply personal emotional response. Next, there's individual sensory sensitivity. People differ in how acutely they perceive smells. Some have highly sensitive olfactory systems, detecting subtle chemical changes that most people miss. For these individuals, the aroma of jasmine or petrichor is vivid, layered, and emotionally resonant. Others have less sensitive smell receptors, so the same scent might barely register. This sensitivity not only influences perception but also shapes the intensity of the emotional response. It's why one person can feel instantly calm and another feels nothing at all. The brain is simply noticing different levels of information. Personality traits also play a role. People who are highly introspective, nostalgic, or emotionally attuned may be more prone to experiencing comfort from earthy smells. These individuals tend to process environmental cues deeply, linking sensory input to memory and emotion. They might close their eyes and feel transported to a rain-soaked childhood garden, even without consciously trying. On the other hand, more pragmatic or detail-oriented personalities may acknowledge the smell without the same emotional resonance. Essentially, the way we interpret the world influences how scent impacts us emotionally. Conditioning is another key factor. Over time, repeated exposure to certain smells in specific contexts reinforces emotional associations. For example, if a person frequently smells wet soil during moments of relaxation, play, or safety, the brain begins to link that scent with positive feelings. Later, encountering the same aroma, even in a different context, can automatically trigger comfort. This subconscious conditioning operates silently but powerfully. It's the reason why a seemingly simple smell can evoke a profound emotional response without conscious effort. There's also an evolutionary perspective on individual differences. While humans as a species may have developed a general sensitivity to earthy, damp smells due to survival advantages, signaling fertile land, water, and safe environments, our modern lifestyles can modulate this. People raised in urban, concrete-heavy environments may be less attuned to these scents and therefore derive less comfort from them. Those who grow up surrounded by nature may retain stronger, more instinctive emotional responses. Evolution gave us the potential, but personal experience determines the outcome. This illustrates how biology, psychology, and personal experience converge to shape emotional perception. Interestingly, the comforting effect of damp and earthy smells also underscores a broader principle about the interplay between sensory perception and emotion. Smell is unique in how directly it taps into the limbic system, linking what we detect in the environment to stored memories and emotional states. While other senses, like vision or hearing, pass through more analytical brain regions, olfactory signals are fast-tracked to areas controlling mood, safety perception, and memory recall. This direct route explains why even subtle scents can have outsized effects on comfort and emotional state. Finally, understanding why some people feel comforted by damp, earthy smells offers a glimpse into the sophistication of human cognition. Our brains do more than react to the environment. They evaluate, predict, and integrate sensory input with memory and emotion. A simple whiff of rain-soaked soil is not just a smell, it is an orchestration of neural, chemical, and psychological processes that produces an emotional response unique to each individual. Comfort from such a smell is a testament to the brain's ability to connect environmental cues, past experiences, and present perception into a seamless, often unnoticed, psychological experience. In short, some people feel comforted by damp or earthy smells because of a combination of memory associations, sensory sensitivity, personality, conditioning, and evolutionary predispositions. Geosmin and other compounds trigger the limbic system, linking scent to emotion. Past experiences and repeated exposure shape emotional response. Personality and sensitivity modulate the intensity of the effect. And evolutionary cues reinforce why these smells, in particular, can signal safety and life. Together, these factors explain why a simple scent of wet soil or petrichor can evoke warmth, calm, and even nostalgia, subtly reminding us how deeply the brain, memory, and environment are intertwined. Next time you find yourself breathing in the smell of rain on the ground and feel inexplicably at peace, remember, your brain is performing a remarkable balancing act, connecting chemistry, memory, and emotion in a seamless dance that has taken millennia to perfect. And for those who feel that comfort more strongly, it's a deeply personal symphony of biology, psychology, and experience, all orchestrated in one brief, earthy moment.